Okay, awesome. Today's election day in the United States. So we've got a lot of fun things going on. Patrick is home with 3 kids, his 2 older kids, and then his baby. I just sent them gluten-free cookies that they just got. So they just sent me pictures. He was on the doctor-to-doctor call, but he is having to take care of baby and mother and the kids today. So think about Patrick. Thank you for all the messages to him. He loves it. And we're super excited about the new Root baby. We're just waiting for Dylan and his fiance and Duquesne and his fiance to have children soon too.
We have much more time than that. There's no. Mm-mm.
Okay, Dylan, but we're all still going to wait patiently. All right, let's start with a medical disclaimer. So guys, it's good to see everyone. I want to talk to you guys about this important topic because this month is really, there's a lot of stuff around the lungs scientifically that we talk about during October, November, and December because people go through a lot with respiratory illnesses that can be triggering for other illnesses. And we'll get into a little bit about that. But I want to make sure that everyone understands this is for educational purposes. It's not intended for medical advice or substitute for medical advice. You should use this information for diagnosing a health or you shouldn't not use the information to diagnose anything. And again, none of us are doctors to each other. If you are a doctor or a scientist, you can use this information along with other information that you have as for educational purposes, but that's it. We don't claim to treat, diagnose, mitigate, prevent, or cure diseases. We do say that we cure the causes to help people have a better life. And I love that word. We get to the root of the cause to cure the cause of what's going on in people's lives. And that's what we say a lot. And that's really the premise behind the root environment and what we're all doing today. So let's get into the Lung Cancer Awareness Month. All right. So I just told you guys I did this for the doctor, so I know the whole deck and I know everything as it pertains to lung cancer. I told the doctors that I worked with, I've done investigator-sponsored trials and other types of studies as it pertains to different types of cancer, including lung. And lung cancer is one of the hardest things I've ever worked on in my career because it's devastating. It can go at stage 4 into the kidneys, the lungs, the brain, the bones, the blood, everything. And it's very, very hard to watch. But we have a lot of things like human monoclonal antibodies that are targeted that help with lung cancer now. The annual death rate is approximately 1.8 million people. There's a lot of people that die because of this illness. But let's talk about solutions and let's talk about how we can support people's bodies regardless of a diagnosis. So let's go to the next slide. And Dylan, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide when I'm almost finished, I know all the slides, just so you know, so I don't have to look at them. And if I want to go back, we can go back too, but don't worry about any of it. It won't bother me if we go forward or backward. There's 2 types of lung cancer, guys. There's the benign when it comes to tumors, and there's the cancers. But most people, if you're diagnosed with lung cancer, just so you know, it's either non-small cell lung cancer or small cell lung cancer. And small cell lung cancer is very aggressive. It's usually because people have been smoking that they get that type of cancer. But there's other reasons for it as well. There is a genetic component, but it's not always genetically related to that. So you just have to really look at what type of cancer they have. And then again, it's all kind of interblended. So you can get a diagnosis, but it can have an offshoot of another illness. It's all categorized as lung cancer, but there are different stages as well. 1 through 4 are the typical stages.
Das heißt, das erste Mal die Stummschaltung kurzzeitig aktiviert steht da, wie es kommt.
Let me try to find who this person is. Could everyone please mute and not talk on the call? I can't see the screen when I'm sharing it. Okay.
Thanks, everyone. We have people out today and people working, and it's our election day. So it's Dylan's kind of maneuvering this for everyone. I'm going to keep talking about it till you get to the next slide. So guys, just so you know, Lung cancer diagnosis used to be, if you got the diagnosis, then it was something that it was like you were going to die within a year, right? But things have changed because of the awareness, because people are getting tested earlier. You know, the slides aren't on here, right, Dylan? It's your inbox.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. We
There you
just
go.
have to, okay, thank you. So, so it just has to be, so here's what's so important. You have to find out you have lung cancer early on, because once it progresses and it's in the final stages and it metastasizes and it's in the bloodstream, it's really hard. Once it's in your bones, I just want everyone to know, if a cancer is in the bones or the brain or the liver or the lungs, it becomes harder. That doesn't mean it's impossible. And I just want to say this, our jobs at Root and at the Root brands is to work with people regardless of a diagnosis, whether they have autism, ADHD, lung cancer, liver cancer, it doesn't matter, right? Everybody deserves to have the best life possible and to be as happy as possible. So a lot of times when people get cancer, they're going to die of that or a side effect or something associated, but it could be 30 years later. And that's how things have changed so much over the years, or it could be next week. And that's why it's so important to support your body no matter what you're going through, because your goal is to get the inflammation down and then to support the immune system so it works even better. And so it's not any different with this disease. That's what you're trying to do. Let's go to the next slide. The risk factors obviously are smoking, but I want to point this out. It's not just the person that's smoking, it's the passive smokers. So if you guys have children or you have people in high school, you need to make sure they understand if they go to a bar and there's smoke, that's impacting their lungs and it's impacting their throat and their sinuses and their head. My dad had stage 4 advanced head, neck, and throat cancer. So it was in his head, his neck, and his throat throughout this whole system, and he smoked. So it's really important to understand lung cancer is connected to other cancer, and smoking does harm you. I don't judge people that smoke, but one of the things I want people to understand is there's over 7,000 chemicals in smoke. It's not just nicotine. There's all kinds of chemicals that happen. And even vaping, there's still chemicals. So people need to understand that. In fact, years ago, I worked on a project that was a formulation similar to Clean Slate, that was a vape pen that you could smoke to detox the lungs. I need to finalize that because it's really important to clean out the lungs. The lungs have a microbiome too, right? So you've got to support that. So let's take this just a step further. We talk a lot about the microbiome. Everything in this body has a microbiome. At Root, we're trying to give people products that support their whole body to get to the root cause of what's happening so their body can be healthier and happier and can thrive. That's our goal. That's what you're trying to do. When it comes to lung cancer, environmental factors are your main things that come in, whether it's a heavy metal, whether it's radiation, yes, even 5G, like everything that's around us, when it comes in the lungs can't handle it. Even the things that are inside your house, we know can cause things like lung cancer because there's a lot of toxicity inside. And I think that's why for me, I don't need to make any claim. I just tell people, can you please help clean out your bodies, your microbiome, everything, because you need to, because your body is being exposed to a lot of pollution that can harm you in every area of your body. I will say there is a genetic predisposition, EGFR and KRAS, which I call crash genes, are connected to the possibility of lung cancer, but we do know there's still these environmental triggers that are causing it. Let's go to the next slide. The lesser known facts of risk factors for lung disease do have to do with like diet and nutrition, because your diet matters. It can cause issues with the body where the cancer cells grow. And I want to make sure I bring that out. Antioxidants that are found in food or supplements can actually play a role in cellular repair and protection against this. And I think that's why it's so important. There are certain jobs. So any of you guys that know people that work in chemical plants, coal mining, heavy metals, diesel, anything that's involving chemicals, That is a risk factor that we don't talk about enough. Radon, uranium that's in the soil, that impacts us as well. Anyone that lives near a lithium battery place or somewhere where they've produced any kind of battery actually can impact the body as well. And if you ask me, where are those places? Well, there's a couple of them near Nashville, Tennessee. There's one an hour and a half from our farm in Missouri. They're everywhere. So you really have to understand that when you're around those places, it's in the soil, it's in the air, it's in the water, and that can impact you. So you want to try to make sure you're taking things to get those toxins out of the body. The age does matter. When you're over 65, you have more of a propensity, but now there's an increasing risk of lung cancer in people that are younger. Let's go to the next slide. So what are the symptoms? Before you read these symptoms, I want to make sure you guys know this is a season where I developed natural barrier support because it was really important to me because it's a season where people are getting colds and viruses and getting sick, and you need vitamin D3, you need vitamin C, you need zinc. And I don't talk about that enough. Of course, our other products are helpful as well, but this is the season where you get a lot of bronchitis, you get a lot of pneumonia, you get a lot of issues, and then your body has to fight that. I do blood work every 6 months, just so everyone knows, because I've had so many types of cancer, and some of my blood work, actually last week came back not great. And basically they reran it and I got results yesterday. One of the issues was I was in complete adrenal fatigue. And it was because of lack of sleep, they think, stress, and not eating enough because I've just been working a lot. I'm feeling much better. I'm feeling great. But what I was going to say is I had a cough. I had chest pain. I don't have pneumonia. Not anymore. I don't have cancer. I don't have any of those. So you can cough up blood. You can have shortness of breath. You can have chest pains. You can have a cough because you have a virus, right? Or you have pneumonia, or you have bronchitis. So don't just read this and think, oh, I have lung cancer. That's not it. But I will say if you have all of those in unexplained way, your doctor will probably run additional tests or do a scan just to make sure. People that have more pneumonia and more COPD or have risk factors have more of a chance of having things like lung cancer. So sometimes they're extremely careful. People like me that have worked around a lot of chemicals and worked with different things in a lab are another risk factor. And I'm sure some of you guys are as well, like I said, because of where you live or where you've worked. So just don't get stressed out about it. Just understand the earlier you find something out, the better. But most people that have these symptoms don't have lung cancer. They have something else, but it can be a link to certain types of cancer. How do they test for that? X-rays, which they do for pneumonia and COPD anyway. Biopsies are not done right away. They're usually done when they really think you have lung cancer. So if they see it on a node, and I want to tell you guys, if they find it in like the lower lobe, they know that you've got something wrong. You've either got an infection, a virus, you've got pneumonia, you've got something going on. And just so you guys know, if you have COVID or you have a virus or you have a bacterial infection, it can start and then lead to pneumonia if you don't have it tested or if you don't support your body, which is why I always say the root products are important, because people that are predisposed to getting sick, and what does that mean? People that have had cancer, people that are older, people that have autoimmune disorders, people that have been sick throughout their life, they have more of a chance of getting things. So you've really got to support their body. I said this on the doctor call, we're all on this journey, right? And that journey, we're kind of pioneers on this journey because our health is different than it used to be. We know now we have all these vaccines, we have all these environmental triggers. We've really got to detox and take care of our body and clean it. And then we've got to restore it and make it better. So if you think that you could have this possibly, make sure you get tested. If you think you have pneumonia, make sure that they find out if you do, because the earlier you resolve those by supporting your body with either natural things or something that your doctor has to give you, the better. I prefer natural things because if you can use natural, you don't have to worry about the side effects. But of course, when you have things like lung cancer, you need to look in other options as well. Let's go to the next slide. So stages of lung cancer, I said this earlier, they're stage 0 through stage 4. Once you've hit stage 4, which my father reached stage 4 advanced. And what that meant was it had metastasized everywhere, right? They gave him about 3 months to live. I think it's been 9 or 10 years right now. So again, this isn't a diagnosis that you know you're going to die. It's just that most people, they don't take care of their body, they will. So you really got to support it. My father went through it was 30 rounds basically, which was one full treatment of chemotherapy and radiation, but it was the type of chemotherapy that's like a human monoclonal antibody, and that means it's targeted. And I was overseeing and helping with all of this, but he also did natural things, right? And took things to clean out his body and support his body. And that's been our whole basically focus as a family, making sure that happens anytime any of us get sick. Not saying that we're going to be cured by the products that I make, and not saying that they're going to go away, but understanding we're going to support our bodies regardless of the diagnosis so we can have the best life possible. Once you reach the stage 4 and it goes to the brain, though, you've got to really make sure you're focusing on the person's happiness. You're focusing on the ability they have to eat. You're focusing on the nauseousness. And I don't think we have the case study in here because it's part of the doctor-to-doctor call. But on the next ISNS call, Patrick, I would like to present this along with the case study and talk about it even further for the ISNS members, because there's a lot I'd like to say about it. And we're going to go a little bit into it, but I want to go into it more with the ISNS members later. If you ask me as a scientist that's worked in this area, what I've seen as far as treatments, I've seen all of these being used with patients. I've seen the different radiation treatments and the brachytherapy, which has helped with some people. I've seen the chemotherapy and the human monoclonal antibodies that they've used. I've seen it where they remove part of the lungs. There's lots of different things. People now can live a lot longer with lung cancer than they were able to 20 years ago. When you got the diagnosis 20 years ago and even 10 years ago, it was horrible. Now, there's different types of therapy where people can live a lot longer. So you really want to give them the support they need by giving them different things that go into their bodies, different nutrients to really support the overall function of the immune system. Because your goal, again, just like any type of cancer or autoimmune disorder, is to shut down the communication between the sick cells and open up the communication and the strength of the healthy cells. That has to be the goal. So you need to be thinking about that as well, because you're on a mission. When your body goes through an illness, you can't give up. You're there to fight and to live as long as possible and as happy as possible so you can impact this world in a positive way. Let's go to the next slide. So I have seen and worked with a lot of the stages of lung cancer, as I said, and I've also worked with the human monoclonal antibodies. You guys know that that's been one of my background approaches in the case studies that we had, and one of them was from Hungary that we presented today. The person was given a monoclonal antibody, which is what I would have recommended, because from my viewpoint, it's a lot healthier than anything else. And human monoclonal antibodies and inhibitors are basically connected as the same thing. There's a component that's equal. Most of those products, just so everyone knows, ends in a MAB or ZUMAB. Those are the last parts of the words. That's how you know it's a human monoclonal antibody or an inhibitor. And that means it's targeted. It's basically producing a product that's targeting a system or a cell so that cancer can't attack or the disease can't attack, which I think is better than a typical chemotherapy and radiation. But that's my opinion as a scientist. And again, I'm not telling people what to do. I'm telling people my opinion as it pertains to what I know in this area. Let's go to the next slide. So what do you do if this happens all the time? I have people contact me that they don't want to use any kind of chemotherapy or radiation or human monoclonal antibody or inhibitor. They only want to do natural things, or they are doing the other treatments, but they want to add different products. So let's talk about that today. And again, we can't make the claim that we're curing something or we're fixing something or preventing it. Our job with the products is to go in, make sure people understand them and how they can support their body regardless of a diagnosis. And I say this all the time. whether you have autism or ADHD or depression or diabetes or anything or cancer, you deserve what's best for your body. It's not like your body's dead. Your body just has an issue you're fighting. So please, let's put this in perspective. Because if my father would have thought they gave him a 3-month diagnosis and he was going to die, then he wouldn't be alive right now. Part of that was mental. Part of that was emotional. And the other part was physical. So you got to remember this. You can't listen to the diagnosis. You have to support your body to live the best life possible while you're here on this earth, and the happiest life possible. That means you need to clean out the body. You need to support the body. And I say this constantly, Clean Slate is the gift I would give everyone if I had an option. And I mean that. That's not just words that I'm saying. It's the one product I've been sued over. It's the one product I've been criticized over. It's the one product this company has had to fight for. And why? Because this product's really important. This product works. This product helps the body. It's supporting the body and its natural ability to get rid of things it shouldn't have. We understand now, you guys, that there's all these environmental factors that are triggers that go into our body and cause an autoimmune disorder or an epigenetic. And we need to start realizing our first job is to clean out our body and get rid of those things that can cause harm. If we love ourselves, we've got to love our bodies. It's easy for us to love our children. It's easy for me to love God. It's easy for me to love my friends. You got to love yourself. You got to love your body, and you've got to give your body the support regardless of what's going on. So I'm getting a lot of texts because this time of year, people get sick, right? This is the time of year you've really got to support your body and make it as healthy as possible. You need to put more attention on your body than you put on your house or your clothes, because your body is the one place that will take you wherever you want to go. And if this body doesn't make it, you're never going to get there. After you clean your body, you want to restore it. And I've said this to people, but I want to say it on this phone call. When I worked in Asia, and I used to be in Singapore, Hong Kong, China, Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, everywhere. And they would use different types of treatment. Also, I was in Africa. I did a ton of stuff over there, and they would use resveratrol and turmeric curcumin, and they would use a lot of black cumin seed, and they would put it on people's wounds, and I would see the parasites run out. I would see the fungus before my eyes kind of closing up, and then these parasites and these worms would run out of people's bodies. And the first time I saw it, I was in shock. And I was like, this is horrible that is in their body. And it looked just like a wound. But when they put the black cumin seed oil and the turmeric curcumin, which at the time I had worked on as well, and resveratrol, it got rid of those things. And what that really told me is when you're taking that into your body, you're helping your body get rid of things that shouldn't be in there. I remember when we did the initial lab work on Clean Slate years ago, I barely knew clay. And I remember when they did it and they saw again the parasites running out of the cells, and they saw the body getting rid of things. That's your goal. Your body is a host. Any virus, any bacteria, any insect, any worm, anything that's impacting the body, that's negative, that's taking over your energy, you want it to go out. So Restore is something that gives your body the energy to really support the body and the cellular function, but it's also helping you get rid of things that you don't need, that shouldn't be in there. It's restoring the body back to where it should be. There doesn't need to be claims about that. It's really helping people, right? That's important for you guys to understand. And when people ask me when they have cancer, how much Restore they should take, my comment is, I would be taking 3. I can't tell people what to take, but if you have something that's really harming the body, your Trinity, your first 3 products, you should be taking to really help support the body so it's functioning as good as possible. Doesn't matter what the diagnosis, because you're trying to really help your body. But remember this, when you have an illness or you have a diagnosis, you need to really take care of your body. If, for example, you've had issues with your liver or your kidneys, or you've had alcoholism, or you've had different issues with addiction, your body's been under a lot of stress. Even if you don't do it anymore, guys, your body has a memory. It has what's called imprinting. So you've got to get rid of all that stuff. So when you guys ask me, how long do I take these products? How much? What has your body been through? Because I don't know your whole history. Yes, the genetic test will help show us some of this, but it won't show us everything you've eaten. It won't show us everything you've done to your body. It won't show us where you worked. So you've got to really take into consideration what your life is, or the people that you meet who are using these products, and then help support them in the best decision. But Zero In, Restore, and Clean Slate, the Trinity, are the first 3 products that I really look at to help with the immune response, to support the body with reducing inflammation, to help the body with stress and immune function. It's very, very important. And one more thing about Zero In. It is a bronchial dilator, and we only have it once under the caffeine. But if you look at all of the ingredients, all of those are helping the lungs basically dilate. And that's important, whether you have COPD, bronchitis, sinusitis for the sinuses, or see any of it. That's not even a lung cancer, but where you're having issues. Remember, Zero In is a product that can help open up the breathing passages. I can't talk, sorry. Go on to the next slide. ReLive Greens. I said this earlier on the doctor-to-doctor call, because on the doctor-to-doctor call, I brought up the case studies and I went over the protocol. And the protocol that we had to do with the Trinity and ReLive Greens and Give Me Back My Youth and Immune Defense Shield. And then we added in the Clean Spirits. And I'm going to go through why we added all of that and why it was important. Your protocols are available, just so you guys know, for doctors' offices too, if you're going in there and you need to present. It just has to be presented in a way where we're not making claims, but we're offering protocols. Dylan, today I will be reviewing and redoing all protocols, so if you can remember to get those from me by the end of the week. One of the things that we're trying to produce for the doctors' offices and the hospitals and the clinics and the rehabilitation areas, as well as the parent support groups for different organizations like the one you set up for DOPE. Dylan, I'm trying to redo the protocols so that they are up to date with the new products, and we will offer marketing materials. At the end of this call, I'm going to try to get Krista and Jill and Dr. Fadwa to talk a little bit about what we're doing in clinics. But I wanted to make sure you guys know that there are protocols attached to almost any diagnosis, and we are continuing to do those because we have been keeping those around the case studies. We don't tell people we're going to fix something. Our thing is, if you want a natural support through the ingredients and the products we have, we will help guide you, just like we do with the genetic testing when you get your results. And Suzanne, we're going to talk about that at the end too. If you can remind me, I'm going to roll out the protocol of what we're going to do with the genetic test as well today. So the ReLive Greens, I say triple it. And what I mean by that is I take 3 of these, three times the dose every day, because for me, it matters. It helps me. Most of you guys know that I have always had problems with colitis. A lot of people have problems with their stomach. I can't eat gluten. I don't do well with sugar and carbs. I'm very thankful to Sculpt because it blocks the sugar and carbs. But I really want to make sure people know that ReLive Greens and Restore are not just products that are helping with the nutrients and the vitamins. They're helping detox as well, guys, and get rid of things while they're supporting your body so the healthy cells can thrive and the bad cells can go away. You want what's called a fast death for cancer cells, and you want your good cells to be strong and really grow. And ReLive Greens is something that can support the body so that your body can function and do both. Let's go to the next slide.
Real quick, for the ReLive Greens, Dr. Rahm, if you don't mind me asking, you say you take 3 times the dosages. Is that 3 times at one sitting, or is that one dose, and one dose throughout the day?
When I do the smoothies in the morning, Dylan, I do 3 times the dose, and then I add 1/4 of a frozen banana, and then I add pistachio milk or macadamia milk, and sometimes I just do it with beet juice or whatever. I know Ted and Clayton use pineapple juice and orange juice. It's too sweet for me. My body doesn't do well with sugar and carbs. So even though I like it, I mean, it just doesn't, I feel bad afterwards. So I really focus on like the protein from the nuts, because I know I need protein, and then the banana because the potassium, I need that, and I need the fiber and everything. But my answer is yeah. And I got to tell you, Dylan, I sometimes add Give Me Back My Youth. I sometimes add Restore. I take it with Crush and Sculpt in the morning. Sometimes I add the Clean Slate. So there are mornings that I take the pills, and then everything else that's a powder, I put in the actual shake in the morning. If you ask me why I don't do that throughout the day, if I forget in the morning, I try to do it at night, but I just don't have time with my schedule right now to do it 3 times a day. If I did, Dylan, I would do it 3 times a day, if that makes sense. I just don't.
Understood. Thank you.
But the reason I would do it 3 times a day, that was a great question from Dylan, is because when you take these products, and I've said this before, but I want to tell you guys again, you reach what's called a steady state and a peak plasma level. The steady state means the nutrients and the vitamins and the benefit stays in the system. Usually with vitamins and minerals, it stays in like 5 hours. So the problem is if you're not taking it throughout the day, you are getting the benefit when you take it, but it's not as strong the whole day. So if you can do things 3 times a day, it's great. I just don't have the time. But I'll use one more example. Because I have skin cancer and I haven't treated my nose 3 times a day like I should, I just started doing it 3 times a day. While I was traveling, I was trying to do it once or twice a day because I use the Clean Slate and I use the Restore on my nose, and it's a major difference. So like if you look at my nose today, while I was in Vegas, I did it 3 times a day and it's almost gone. And I do that because I'm trying to block the cancer cells and to get my skin to repair. I don't talk about this on videos or do calls about it because I don't want to make a claim to do this for everyone. It's what I do for my body. And that's why it always goes back to what's best for your body. What are your choices? And everyone's choices are different. But Dylan's right. If I had an option and was just focused on my body, I would do it 3 times a day because then you keep your steady state throughout the day. That pertains also, just so everyone knows, to Clean Slate. If you can take Clean Slate morning, noon, and at night and get to 20 to 30 drops, that's better. But not everyone can do that, including me. I'm too busy, so I'll drink like a half a bottle if I have Clean Slate. And I do that, I would say I do 2 to 3 drops of that to half a bottle, every week at some point. That's just how I do it. But again, everybody's body's different, and you guys need to make sure that you're taking care of the body. If you can do 3 times a day, like Dylan's a fitness fanatic, and you can tell by looking at him, then yeah, it's better for you to do that 3 times a day. Going to natural barrier support, I said this earlier, guys, the D3 is extremely important. If you have adrenal fatigue, or if you aren't sleeping, if you're traveling like I've been traveling, that was one of the reasons that the blood tests that I had weren't great, because it was worn down. I'm doing much better now. Your D3 is great to take. I've been traditionally low on D3 in my body, but then it had gone up really high because of all the products I was taking at Root. And then I stopped taking natural barrier support just because I couldn't take everything with me. We pack very light suitcases. Sometimes we don't even bring a big suitcase. If you guys have ever noticed, I just take a small one and I can't fit everything in. Vitamin D3 is really important, and vitamin K2, which you guys will see we have in our products as well. But to take this particular formulation during this time of the year, it's very, very important. And I can tell you, your vitamin D3, your body gets rid of excess of this stuff. So when doctors say they're worried about you taking too much of something, if you guys are worried about it, don't take it. But I can tell you this right now, that D3 is extremely important to your overall health, just like vitamin C and vitamin zinc or mineral zinc. And I just did 3 videos on those that we will be posting. So if you guys are on Instagram for Root or for me, you'll see those pushed out this week. Why is that so important right now? Again, guys, pneumonia, bronchitis, the virus is going around, and there's 3 major viruses going around. I'm not going to focus on those because I want you guys just to focus on your overall health. The bottom line is these particular vitamins and minerals this time of year are really needed. So you really need to put those into your body. Dylan, is there a message I missed? Because I saw Sam, I can't see all the messages on this computer. They're not coming up, but I saw every once in a while they'll pop up. And Sam said
Yeah, so sorry, I can't see the comments at all. So I had Sam hop on the call to help answer some comments and questions. There was one from Nurse Chrissy he texted me about. Nurse Christy asked if there was an overdose or a question about if an overdose can happen when taking too much of the products.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
If an
Dylan?
overdose can happen from the too much of the products. Pull this up so I can see.
If an overdose has happened?
Yeah, let me pull Nurse Christy so she
So
asked.
Andrea asked, can overdose happen? Nurse Christie responded, your body will flush any excess of any vitamin, so no. But we thought it would be a good question to bring up for discussion.
Yeah, so we have not had issues with the overdoses of the products. If you ask me, could it happen? Anything can happen. I mean, with anything, with drinking too much water. Like there's people that you guys could Google it right now that have died because there's too much of something, right? That happens all the time. But no, we have not had issues with that. If we did, they'd have to report it. We'll take the rest of the questions later though, Sam, so we could get through this and then at the end, we'll let people open up to questions. But I appreciate you stopping me because that is important. Christy did answer it right. Christy knows we've answered that question numerous times, but we need to keep answering it because there's always new people. There's always new questions and everyone cares about their bodies. So we need these questions. You guys keep asking because if you're thinking those questions, that means someone else is. So I want you guys to ask. The Immune Defense Shield, everybody knows, I think that Ted and Clayton take 4 to 6 a day. In the protocol that we had for this particular disease state, they were taking 4 a day, 2 in the morning, 2 at night. I take 4 to 6 a day, just so you guys know. Of the smaller ones, of the big ones, I usually take 2 to 3, sometimes 4. We still have some of the smaller dosing in our office, so I have both at our house, but this is a very important product, I think, because of the vitamin D3 and the K2. So I was going to say this. So we have a very good source of vitamin D3. But if your body's exhausted and you're traveling, like when I went through the 8 weeks of really, not being here and being always on a plane, my D3 level went down really low because I needed to really focus on that. Your energy level, your immune system. When we think D3, we're always thinking bones. We're always thinking joints. We're always thinking osteoporosis, but really D3 is an important part of everything, your metabolism, the way you're functioning, your respiratory infections. I could go on and on. It's really supportive. So you need a lot of that. During the pandemic, vitamin C, vitamin D3, and vitamin K, different countries put different limits on it, which is why your bottle has that, because I have to follow government regulations. Root has to follow government regulations. In the United States, if people have cancer, or if they have different illnesses, they'll get 2,000 milligrams, they'll go get a 2,000 milligram IV of vitamin C. And then you've got countries saying they should only have 25, not 2,000, but 25. And again, I can't control government. So if you don't even need to ask me the question because I can't change your government. I can't change what they tell us to put on the label, but I can say this. In some instances in the label, you can take 3 to 4 times more. That's up to you. You get to make that decision, or you can consult with a doctor or a scientist in your area to make that decision. I take 3 times the ReLive Greens. I can tell you with 0 in, I only take 1 in the morning and 1 at night. However, 1 in the morning and sometimes 1 at lunch, usually just 1 though throughout the day. You guys heard how I take Clean Slate, but I'll say this. You can go up on most of the dosing. I, however, in this company, and I want to say this very clearly, can't tell you to do that. We can say what we do. We can recommend what we think as far as our opinion, but we can't be a doctor. We can't be a scientist. None of us can, because legally we are a supplement nutritional community, and the laws in every country prevent us from doing that. So I want to make sure that I tell you guys that I can educate because of my background. I can talk about everything and make sure you guys understand it. But there's some things we just legally can't do, which is why when you send the science questions, I'm sure Dylan knows this. I'm sure Sam knows this. Even if I want to answer the most scientific answer I can, I'm limited to what our lawyers will let us answer because of what we do. And we're not going to take the company down because people get frustrated. We're going to continue to do our jobs as we know we have to, so that we can stay in these countries and help people everywhere. Quercetin and NAD for this product, guys, I stopped doing the NAD IVs And if you ask me why, because anyone that really knows me in this office knows that I've done NAD IVs, and I always have. I'm a huge supporter of NAD because I understand the cellular energy. I understand anti-aging, reversal of aging, and DNA repair. I understand the mitochondria, and I know how NAD and quercetin, along with all these vitamins, can really help people. But in the IV format, they can cause scarring, we know now, in the vein. And we also know they can cause issues to the arteries and veins. So my issue is I need my arteries to work, and you do too. I need my veins to work. If you ask me why, I think it's because of the concentrated levels that they had to use in the stabilization process. You don't have that issue with this particular product with Immune Defense Shield. Guys, during this time of year, please make sure you're supporting your body, supporting the mitochondria and the telomeres so your body is stronger when you're fighting all the things that are going on around you. Give Me Back My Youth, I think, is very important. And when it pertains to the lungs, it can really help with the lung tissue structure, and it can help really promote the capacity of the lungs, which is really important. It can enhance the ability for the immune system to work within the lungs. So remember this, guys, when you have a certain organ or illness associated, again, with the liver, the kidneys, the brain, you're focusing on that, right? That own organ has its own microbiome. So remember how I'm always talking about the microbiome and the brain and the heart and the stomach and the whole GI system. It's everywhere. So again, your whole goal is to support that microbiome, get rid of everything that's dirty, take the trash out, and then support it. And collagen and colostrum are important for that. They are something that can support that area and really help the body get the nutrients and minerals that it needs. Let's go on to the next slide. Sculpt. So I have to say this. So I just saw Dr. Fadwa. She was on the doctor call, and so were the other doctors. We talked about Sculpt. Fadwa, if you hear me not catching stuff I brought up on the other call, can you put it in the group chat so everyone can see it? We can't put everything about the case study because we're going to have a separate call on that. Because that's going to be ISNS, but if any of the tips that we talked about, if you can put those in, that would really help me, and I'm sure help everyone. The Sculpt is so important. I said this, and Regina was on the call. She may be on this one. She can't take Sculpt. She even tried to do it with Crush, because my advice to Regina was take 3 times the amount of Crush with a little bit of Sculpt, and hopefully you won't lose as much weight. We do know that Crush has actually caused people to lose weight even more with Sculpt. And we think it's because the peptides are making the product even work better. However, Regina loses a lot of weight every night if she takes Sculpt. Some of you guys tell me you don't lose weight on Sculpt. Regina's issue is it doesn't matter what she does, she's losing weight on Sculpt. And here's the thing. This particular product, and I've said this a lot, was made not just to lose weight. It was made for weight management and to speed up the metabolism and really to regulate blood sugar level and to help with blocking the carbs and the sugar. Because I understood that regardless of an autoimmune disorder or a disease or a virus or a parasite, fungus, bacteria, insects, guys, Lyme disease, they're feeding on that, right? They're feeding on the carbs and sugar. So if you tell me you don't eat sugar, that's not true. You're getting that through different things you're eating that are being metabolized in the body, and you really need to block it. So I feel like this particular product is very good for people that have autoimmune disorders or different types of cancer. I can't claim it's going to stop feeding the cancer, but that's the mechanism of action of this product, which is why I think it's important to people's health. If you take this product along with Crush, you're getting the peptides benefits. And Dr. Fadwa knows this. I mentioned this on the last call. My only problem I have with Crush when it pertains to different illnesses like this is that some doctors are going to say the peptides could also feed the cancer. My whole thing is you've got to detox the body. You're cleaning it, right? That's why it's so important with Clean Slate, ReLive Greens, Restore. You're getting rid of all of this stuff, and then you're supporting it. But This is something that needs to be thought about before people just use it if they have cancer, in my opinion, because it depends on what kind of treatment you're doing. Are you doing a radiation? Are you doing a chemotherapy? Are they doing surgery? So there's a lot of questions that go along with that. For a typical person in this world, peptides are very important. For me, and I've had cancer and I've had a lot of illnesses, peptides are huge because they help me have more energy. They help me feel better. I'm cleaning my body out. I'm not worried about that. And I'm supporting my body to be stronger for the immune system. Everybody talks about the peptides because they look good when you're a bodybuilder, or you look better when you're aging if you're on peptides. That's not my concern, though, if I'm honest. And I say this constantly. I don't care really what people look like. I want people to be healthy and happy. I care what they look like because they care. I care what I look like because I personally care, because I'm vain and I have an ego. So I care a little bit about what I look like. But ultimately, this body is here to support your soul and your spirit and your mind and your heart. So you've really got to take care of it. And peptides give you the strength to do it. But when it comes to cancer, you need to really evaluate the situation if you're a doctor and a scientist, or discuss it with a doctor, or think through the process if you're making a decision for your personal life. Clean spirits, extremely important. I feel like clean spirits is and I don't feel like I know, it's a game changer that's going to change a lot of things. It really is, because it's going in and it has NAC in it, which is really helping detoxify the body, but it's also getting rid of the mucus in the body. So I want to explain that. Any of you guys are having issues with like sinus infections and mucus, and you feel stuff draining in your esophagus, or you feel inflammation, you should be trying Clean Spirits. Because when I hear people say they have acid buildup or they have problems swallowing, a lot of that is related to what's going on in the microbiome and the GI, and you've really got to break it up. So adding that extra step of Clean Spirits, I feel like can really help the organs. I know it's approved from a patent perspective for alcohol metabolism in the liver and in the organs of the body, but it's also helping rip up the different things in the body to get them out on a further level. So I want to make sure that we discuss that today so you guys understand that. You can ask me questions in a second about that if you have any. I do want to point out, I want to go back to the immune defense shield. You don't have to go back to the slide, Patrick. Dylan, it's okay. But remember, immune defense shield does have the vitamin K2 and has D3. And that's important because some people have an inability to metabolize vitamin D3 correctly, like me, unless you have K2 with it. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that about immune defense shield. Going on past Crush. By the way, Dylan, Crush is one of our top players, and Clean Spirits is becoming one of the top players, as you probably know, but I want to make sure we're pointing it out. Here's a sleeping giant right here. So I want to bring this up. When you have different types of cancer and you do a blood test, one of the things they usually see that there's a negligence in is the vitamin D. We don't talk about this a lot. Your functional med, integrative doctors know that. You got to look at that correlation. If D3 is bad, they're either under extreme stress, extreme fatigue, that can happen, which is one of the things that happened with me, or they have a type of cancer and they look into it even more. So your D3 is important. Your Bs are very important, because if you don't have your B vitamins, if you don't have folate, if you don't have that working actively at a high level in your system, your body doesn't have the energy. And if you don't have the energy, you can't protect your immune system. This has the whole vitamin B complex added. ReLive, Restore, our other products have it in it. But this particular powder, everyone, I want you to know that has all of the complex and all of the complex for your vitamin E. And I need you guys to know that, because that's extremely important when you're trying to repair your body and you're trying to get through things. The other ones do have the B complex, but not all of them added. This one does. And what that means is it was integrated at a high level and at an isolate level so that you guys get the B vitamins you need. And this is very important for your energy level and for your immune system. So here's the references. We actually have more. Dylan, we can post those later, because in the doctor index, we had a bunch of references. If you guys have questions on it, please let me know. We are focusing a lot on the lungs this month with pneumonia, COPD, cancer, and different things. Again, I think that our products, what's so amazing is regardless of a diagnosis, being able to support our bodies is so important. In life, we walk into a room and it's like, you know, I had cancer, or I had Lyme disease, or I had multiple sclerosis. And honestly, it should be almost a badge of honor. Like, I have this and I'm a better person because of it, right? Like what I said earlier, I have 4 kids and it was hard, but I'm a much better person because I had 4 kids. It helped me be humble. It helped me be understanding. And I'm a better person because I had cancer. But I didn't get the diagnosis of cancer and think I'm just going to die. I got the diagnosis of cancer and thought, how am I going to live? And what am I going to do to support my body? And that's what I encourage everyone to do. I know the minute we're on this earth, we're on a journey that's not that easy. All of us go through emotional, physical, and mental stress, psychological stress. Some of us go through abuse. Some of us go through extreme pain. But we got to look at this like this is our journey, and we're up for it. Like, we're going to take the tools with us to make this journey even better. So before I go on, Suzanne, I know you have your results for your genetic test. So here, there were people in Schweinfurt that got genetic tests that I gave to them. And I said I would review it. I can't give medical advice because our company, but I can review it and just have a summary call, which I'm going to do on a podcast. So if you got a genetic test, please let Dylan and Patrick know. Dylan and Patrick, Dylan, we will schedule a podcast where I will go over the genetic test and the results and what I think from a root perspective, so that ambassador has that and can show it. I will hit compliance to make sure I don't do anything wrong. Dylan, I have asked Andy to make sure if there's any paperwork that needs to be signed for me to do that we have each person sign it. And then I need to keep my promise, which is I will go through each person. Suzanne, you asked me, guys, don't just put it on this, unless Sam, if you're able to get all this information, we do need to schedule these. Because I said on stage I would spend time, but I'm going to do it, like I said, from a podcast perspective, unless you guys don't want the podcast. Before we do the podcast, I will talk to you guys individually to tell you what I'm going to go over. So if you decide you don't want to do the podcast afterwards, we won't make you at all. It's just something we will offer, because then you will have that for your customers and you guys can show different things, but you don't have to do it. So we will schedule it and I will talk to you guys before the podcast. And then if you want to do the podcast with me, we will shoot those. And then Dylan, we're going to edit those and push those out in like a reel, just so you know.
And so my email is actually in the comment section now. If you're interested in that, could you please send over an interest to my email? If you don't want to be included in the podcast, can you please note that as well? And I'll file those. Thank
you, Dylan. And then the other thing before we get to the questions, and I'm so sorry, I'm going to answer the questions, but is Jill Rosenberg in this, Rosenkrantz, I never say her name right. Is she on here, or Krista?
I'm here.
There she is. Hi, Jill.
Hi.
I talked about you on the doctor call, and I was telling them about Dallas and how Krista introduced you to the groups, and then we went in and some of them are doing wholesale, and I think we'll just grow that, you know, more and more. I know Clayton, just so you know, we got to get on the calendar. He wants us to go back in the next 2 to 4 weeks. We've got to schedule time to go back to Texas so we can go back to the clinics. But here's one of the things that the Detox girls did, and I really credit Krista and Jill to really focusing on this. They were able to get us into clinics, rehabilitation facilities, different offices that can carry our products, and they wanted to buy them at bulk. So we're doing that under them, and then we're asking them, or if they can't do it, we will do it for them, to get stickers with the doctor's link or their links to put on all of their marketing and all of their packaging. Jill, if you can work with me to make sure we have the marketing that we can have on our end. But the other part of this is you guys really took that heavy lifting, which is what we want people to do. Because once you get these groups started, they will keep using the products and their patients will, right? Which is why you're putting the link in. Can you describe that to this group so they understand? Because I feel like you guys first had to educate on the products, of course. You had to show them a lot of things. So when people tell me they can't get this done, my question is, then why can Jill? Like, that's what I told Ted Baker on the phone yesterday. I actually drove to a funeral. John Hayden's mother died, and that family's been in my life since I was 18. And I did calls the whole way there and the whole way back. I ended up getting on the phone, Jill, with Karen Floyd about the hospitals and clinics there. And I volunteered your services. And because you had said you would be willing to help, and you know my calendar. I'm trying to figure out how do we get this done. I volunteered you and possibly Dr. Fadwa and possibly Krista to help if we can secure 2 full dates of doctors' offices for you guys to come in and help me, right? So that I can work on those areas. I want you to describe to the group what you did so they understand and other people can do what you've done. And I also would like you to tell them how much you lined up for us, that we didn't just fly in there for a casual meeting. Like we flew in there with meeting after meeting. I really want to use you as an example for what you did, because I'm so proud of you, so thankful for you, and I would love for you to share your knowledge.
Thank you. So I don't know if Krista was able to get on the call. I know she was on a call. If she's here, she can jump in. Actually, Krista started a lot of this. It is just about relationship building, always just being in touch with people and being able to collaborate and give and connect resources. So it was never about selling. It was just about natural talking to people, just getting in front of people and reaching out. So I've actually been using NowSite to do this in Pittsburgh, because I'm hoping that you get to come to Pittsburgh next September. And if that happens, I'm already working on it. So Krista was able to talk to people that she knew, that she had built relationships with, and we just started lining it up. So the conversations were natural, and it wasn't a one touch. It was multiple times of asking them what is their focus of their patients and their clients, what are they missing, what are they using. And one of the best questions that we asked when we were down there is, because I didn't realize it, but we went into some of these clinics and they have shelves and shelves and shelves of things, all these different products. And it was actually Clayton that said, well, how do you know what protocol you're going to give them? And it was kind of a deer in the headlights moment, because nothing was set, nothing felt protocol. It was like, well, we could try this and this, but nothing worked synergistically together like Root does. So I thought that was a big thing. And then we brought in the genetic testing, which makes health coaching.
Did you guys catch what she just said? Because I think that's important. I want to make sure they catch what you said, Jill. I didn't mean to interrupt you. We have protocols. So what Clay had said was, we have protocols. Do these other companies have protocols? And the answer is no. And just so you know, Jill, I'm reviewing all protocols today and redoing them. And then we've got to come up with how we're pushing those out to the clinics. But Jill's right. None of the other companies have protocols, and we did. So that was a selling point that I felt when I was in that office.
Yeah.
Like,
and
it
was
definitely helped.
It was really important to them, because when you're talking about grabbing from this shelf and that shelf and this shelf, nothing works synergistically. There was nothing that was, everything was by one company that works synergistically together with an element of detox and an element of regeneration always in every product that you stack on. So biohacking by stacking. And then when we moved to the genetic testing, that was a game changer for a lot of people, because what they said was they were confused. They could take the history, they could put the pieces of the puzzle together, but then formulating the protocol was difficult. But by being able to give the genetic testing and then get the protocol built right in where no one had to guess, was a big deal for them. That they thought that was really a value. So I'm really looking forward to getting that in. And then not only was Krista building relationships in Dallas, just talking to people, and it's her natural conversations with people where she would ask them who else did they know. And so they were connections by other people. And then we have followed up by email, by text. We have, every single person that we got in touch with, we have followed up with. We gave the white glove care. We set up the accounts. We gave them their referral code. I made QR codes for people. We did the wholesale pricing with them because they wanted to order big and in bulk. And we explained that it's great to start out with in bulk, but really the ecosystem that Clayton has built with signing up their customers is a way to prolong that and really work through the ecosystem for longevity of all of their passive income. It's a way to build a business on top of the business that they're already doing. So there's just so many great things, but you have to stay in touch. You have to keep following up, make a list, check it off. You know, what's the last thing that you did? And you talk to them, ask them questions with curiosity, because there were 2 people that asked, I can't remember the questions off the top of my head, but I remember hearing the questions and thinking, that's not what I thought they needed. What they needed was not what I thought that they needed. So it's always good to ask questions with curiosity. How is it going? What can we help with? Do you know about this? Does your front desk staff need help in learning how to register someone? And then slipping in there, it literally takes 30 seconds, if even that, so that they don't think it's overwhelming.
I think you guys did a great job. And I think as a follow-up, and I told Dr. Fadwa on the last call, is getting those doctors on a podcast to also advertise their practices. Like one of the things we're moving towards, and Patrick's not on here, but what Patrick and I are working on is a doctor referral list and a clinic referral list so that we can add the doctors, the clinics, the nutritionists on a list of who we recommend. And this has really stepped up even more when we've gone into the biohacking space. Thank you, Jill, for mentioning that, because another thing that's been happening is in the biohacking space, when we're at the booth, and Dylan knows this, we're selling a ton of those kits. And the kits are the key piece to these clinics, because once they understand there's a genetic test that costs that, when they understand most tests cost a lot more, but they have the ability to do that test and then recommend products. And here's what I've told them. If you have other products that aren't ours, our genetic test shows people what they should use with our products. But if they want to use other products, they can. The genetic test will point to the deficiencies or the areas of need or the areas of strength. This is needed throughout the community. This is needed throughout healthcare in all these countries. So whether you're a functional med doctor, integrative, wellness clinic, workout facility, or a traditional doctor, this is something of interest to people. But I think, like, I'll use an example, Jill, when we were in the office, that's the plastic surgeon office where they do the penile implants, they do all the stuff, right? Sexual health, everything. She was interested in the podcast, right? She was interested because if we can show these are doctors' offices, clinics, wellness facilities, hospitals that we recommend because they understand natural products, their business will grow too. But I think the key piece was all the work that Krista and Jill put in before and after. So you have to be willing to keep that going. And I got to say this. So Kreider was at our house yesterday, and Kreider's been closing product after product. Dylan has been a huge influence to Kreider, huge mentor to Kreider. And Kreider came in and he was like, I sold some more products today. And he was like, how do I keep building it? And our answer was, you keep building it. Like you keep building it. It takes work. So all the people in this industry that think you just start it and then you don't, Ted just walked in, and then you don't finish it, that doesn't work. If you really want to be successful in life, like when people tell me, Christina, you work too hard. Here's my thing. You work hard to get things done in life. It doesn't just happen. It's not like that. I would love for it to be that way, but would I? Like, what is the point of life if everything's given to you? And I think that's one thing I'm so thankful to Clayton. He worked so hard to put together a comp plan that does benefit everyone, but it benefits you if you work. You have to. And I think that's what we do for our bodies. We have to give our bodies the tools to work. And Jill has done that. So I can't even tell you how much I respect her, how much I respect Krista because of the work that they are putting in. And I didn't hear either one of them complain. I just want to say this, Jill. I never, Ted's clapping. Girl. Every time we had an issue, it was our issue to solve. And we actually enjoyed doing it and enjoyed everything around it. And I just want to say a thank you to you. And the next person I'd like to talk really quick is Erica West is, and Jill, I have to follow up with you this week because I'm in town this week. We did manufacturing last week. You and I need to follow up so we can close the gap on some of that stuff. So I'll have Ted, Clayton, and Stephanie and I on the phone call to finish some of the stuff. Is Erica on the call right now?
Yes, I just asked her to unmute. So Erica, you should see a
Yes.
button. There you go.
So
I'm here.
Erica, I did get the cancer clinics and the cancer clinic information in Kosovo. I can't see her picture. Can we put her on the screen?
There's Chrissy. Can you lower your hand so I can put Erica? There we go. Okay. There you go.
Oh my gosh, Erica, you're on a huge screen in my office. She had to put her daughter to bed and I didn't want to bother her, but Erica is another person. So a year ago, you guys, a year ago, Erica wanted me to go to Kosovo and the company to go to Kosovo. So I said to Erica, kind of like what I said to Jill and what I want to say to everyone, if she prepared the meetings, and going back to Jill had, and Krista, had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 meetings lined up a day. And if you ask me, am I exhausted by that? No. If I'm going to fly in somewhere, I want to work all day. I want to work from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. in the morning, because that way we get the work done. And that way it's worth leaving my family and the dogs and everything else to be there. Erica worked for a year with other amazing people like Leo and Dope and Lydia. All those people were amazing. Met with the Madam President, the youngest president in modern day history, youngest general, 5-star general in history. I mean, she put together event after event, really put it around an autism clinic, a cancer clinic, and a shelter for women who have gone through abuse in the war, and a program that has to do with all of those things attached. We couldn't get to everything during the meetings. We got to a ton of stuff though, and she was able to set things up that now we're following through with the different clinics. So Erica, can you explain, how did Erica West introduce me to a president? How did Erica West get me into a cancer clinic that has one of the highest rates of cancer in the world? You did that, Erica, but you did it by persistence and by working towards a goal. And now we're getting ready to open an office in Kosovo. I got a phone call from Macedonia because I met with prime ministers and presidents and people there saying we're ready to open in Macedonia. My comment was, no, we're opening in Kosovo, and Kosovo will be supporting the Balkans area. The question I got, or the answer I got back, and the question was, why? Why did you make this decision? And I said it was very easy. Erica West opened that country for us. So please explain to people what you did so that they can hear, because it was phenomenal.
Okay, first I have to start with my friend Leo, who introduced me to Kosovo. So 1 year ago, she invited me to come to Kosovo to talk about health and wellness and about the root products. And we had like 50 people, most of them women, who are very curious, and I felt this this power these women have in Kosovo. And after this, Leo was introduced to an old friend of her, whose sister worked for the president for a couple of time, to meet the president in Vienna when she has a meeting in Vienna. And both Leo and myself, we are living most of the time in Vienna. So we met the Mrs. President, and I was not sure about this because she's a politician, and I was not very trustful, but I trust my gut. I'm a gut health expert, so I can really trust my gut feeling. So we did this meeting in a cafe in Vienna, and I talked to her, and I was really fascinated with her just a few minutes later. And the first thought I had was, if she likes the root products, we gifted some products to her. The first thought I had was, she Atifete has to meet Christina because they are so similar with what they are doing, how they are talking, with the experience they have. And this was the beginning of the idea to set up a meeting, not only with Atifete, but with many people from Kosovo who have influence, and to bring you to make you coming into Kosovo for joining the event.
So I thank you, Erica. I always love when you talk just like Jill. I have to say this. So we were in Dubai and had problems with the tickets and had been, you guys know, we were traveling. I was traveling. I was switching back and forth between Ted and Clay because we were all trying to juggle, but I was traveling for about 8 weeks. And before that, we had been traveling a lot too. So it was a lot. We couldn't make it over. We were trying to figure out how to do it. So we rescheduled and went back the next trip. But I have to tell you guys, so Ted and Clayton took me aside, and I think Erica knows this, and they were like, Christina, you just can't make everything. You can't do it. Like, we've got to cancel it. And I said, no, because I made a promise. And also because I have a gut feeling. And so I just have to see, I'm like Erica, I go with my gut feelings, but the real reason, it was both, but it was really because I knew Erica had worked so hard. Now, if you told me if I thought it was going to be as good of an event as it was, no, she did an amazing event. They had to cancel before. We still had a lot of attendees at the Root event. We had interviews for television and radio. She had important meetings with doctors that were oncologists, hematologists, and patients. We did miss the autism clinic, which we have to go back. And Erica, just so you know, we are dedicated to supporting them. I told Erica that we gave a lot of money away, you guys, this year to a lot of foundations, a lot of different philanthropies. We want to know what people are interested in us giving to next year, and we're going to schedule things around it. We aren't giving money to individual people unless it's through a foundation, because legally our attorneys won't let us do that. If you're a supplement company and you're doing that, it looks like you're paying someone to use your products. We can't do that. We have to do it in the right way. But any of you guys that want to set things like this up, Erica did it from and I know Jill did too, from a philanthropic kindness, as well as understanding that it can turn into business, because business and money don't matter unless they help people, but they do matter because they can help people, right? And so I really want you guys to know this. Her working for a year to get to Kosovo, for most people, wouldn't be worth it, because they would say, I don't want to take the time. But it's those kinds of groups that are really being successful within this community, because it does take time. It takes not quitting. It takes a dedication to humanity. And I want to thank both of you guys for that, and Leo and Dope and Lydia and Krista and Shauna, all of you guys that are involved in this, because we really are seeing movement within the Root community, but it's because of the dedication, I believe, to humanity from you all. So we want to continue this. We're going to continue it. I'm limiting travel next year to 1 week out of the month, because I'm going to focus on research and development. Me limiting that, though, means I can be traveling internationally 12 weeks out of the month next year. So you guys need to tell me where to go, what we need to do. We need to plan it. Jill, I will be more in the United States, obviously, next year. So it's a little bit easier for me, but it's worth the trip, guys. It's worth us going. It's worth us helping. We just need to get it on the books, and we need to be committed and dedicated. Erica put so much time, Jill, I know you probably know this, into planning that event, right? It was not a one-day thing. And we canceled that. And I'm sure her heart was like, oh my gosh, I know what my heart was like. I was like, I can't handle canceling. We've got to figure out a way to get there. It was undoable. So we rescheduled it. And I say this all the time, you guys, I believe in God. So I believe when things fall through that maybe there's a reason, but I also believe in keeping a commitment, right? So we will keep the commitments. We will do what we tell you guys that we're going to do. I'm going to ask you guys to follow up with me and to stay on top of me. And what I mean by that is, Christina, we said we were going to do this, and then we will do it. Stephanie is key to that. But if Stephanie doesn't respond because she's so busy, get with Dylan, get with Patrick. They will make sure that we get stuff done as well, because you guys do matter to us, and your lives matter, and what you want matters, because that is, I say this constantly, there's lots of new people joining Root, but I know you all. So let's make sure that we put the time into doing more of these functions that really help people all over the world, regardless of a diagnosis, regardless of what the government or the doctors say, because our dedication has to be to humanity. It's not just to a government. It's not just to people's belief. I just did a video that I asked them to post about the election here in Tennessee. And here's what I said, and I'm going to say this because you guys are going to you're going to hear it. I don't care which president gets elected, because guess why? I have to believe in God, and I have to believe in the good of humanity. And regardless of who's in office, we have to respect that. And we have to figure out a way to live our lives to help others in this world. And that's our goal here. We may get upset about who's elected. We may get upset about organizations or religious organizations or politics, but our goal has to be this. We're focused on people's health, emotionally, mentally, and physically. We're going to do the right thing, even when everyone else around us isn't. It's not an excuse for us to do the wrong thing. Spreading hatred or bitterness or anger is not the answer. Our answer has to be strong, to be confident, to be trailblazers, and to do the right thing. Even if everyone else isn't, we're going to do the right things. And I'm just going to say I respect Erica and Jill so much for their dedication to this, because that's what they've done. Despite all the stuff going on around them, despite all the issues, there wasn't excuses. It was just they kept plowing forward and getting things done. I think if I could give one gift to my kids other than God and love, it would be dedication and the ability never to quit and to do the right thing, because that takes guts. And that takes something that you don't get a badge for. It's just something you should do as a human being on this earth.
Well, Dr. Rahm, we're pretty much out of time here. I wanted to note a couple things. One, a reminder, please email me at Dylan@TheRootBrands if you would like to be part of the podcast with the genetic tests. A couple of questions before we end here that I can clear up. Clean Slate and Restore. Yes, you can use that for your skin. You can combine those two. Giving Back My Youth as of right now is not vegetarian or vegan because it's sourced from animal products. The two ingredients in that product is collagen and colostrum, both bovine sourced. And anything that in terms for doctor questions, we do not give prognosis on that, and we will not tell you how to take products. But a lot of things we've said today, we've seen from experiences that have worked really well for people. And then Anita, do you have a question? Unmute yourself. I asked you. It should be on your screen.
Hey,
Great.
Dylan, I didn't realize this, but I was supposed to be at a 2 o'clock meeting. Okay.
If you want to pop off, I can
No,
field
it's,
the.
I'll answer it really quick. I just forgot. That's why Ted was in here. So it's fine. Go ahead, Anita. Sorry. I just have to get off after this next question because I had a 2 o'clock meeting and I didn't realize the time.
Darf ich auf Deutsch sprechen? Geht es?
Oh, could we get a
Danke.
Dutch?
Ich hatte im August Nierenbeckenkarzinom und die rechte Niere auch rausbekommen. Jetzt habe ich für mich die Frage, einfach die Empfehlung, nehme ich jetzt, da bin ich für mich im Ungewissen, nehme ich Give Me Back My Youth weiter und das Immundefense Shield. Das ist jetzt einfach für mich die Sicherheit, was mache ich jetzt? Mache ich das richtig, wenn ich das weiternehme? Oder soll ich da jetzt erstmal, ich stehe momentan für mich in der Luft.
Dylan, I understood part of what she said and her decision making, what she's trying to do. Sam, did you understand?
I did not understand the specific Krankheit that she talked about, but she's looking at which products she should
That's what I
take
thought. Yeah.
in the recovery, like Give Me Back My Youth and Immune Defense Shield.
So Immune Defense Shield, in my opinion, is
Sorry, ein Nierenbeckenkarzinom. Es ist dann auch die rechte Niere entfernt worden und der rechte Harnleiter. Vielleicht kann man das, ich weiß nicht, wie das auf Englisch heißt.
Yeah, I'm not sure the official name of that auf English or in English either.
Und jetzt ist meine Frage,
Is Roland on here still? I'm so sorry, Roland, that we're past time. I'm trying to find the translation.
Yeah.
Susanne looked it up. It's renal pelvis carcinoma.
Ah.
There it is.
Oh. Immune defense shield is definitely, I mean, I'm not allowed to give medical advice, as you know, Roland, but like,
nur für mich die Empfehlung, bin ich mir sicher mit Immundefensschild und Give Me Back My Youth oder bin ich mir eben nicht sicher?
So is she better off with
I
IDS
understood. Yeah, I
and-
understood. Sam, my issue is right now, especially with this particular diagnosis, Dylan knows, I mean, I know you guys know this. I have to be very careful on these calls because I've done clinical trials with that. So my answer is I would refer back to Dr. Fadwa from this call, and Dr. Fadwa can get on briefly to answer that question. Roland could help her answer it but Dr. Fadwa is not going to be able to give medical advice either. So I'll just say this overall, when I look at different autoimmune disorders and cancer and different things, we can't tell people what to do, but immune defense shield is one of my top picks, just like the Trinity and ReLive Greens, because of what it does. Give Me Back My Youth is amazing. It helps with collagen and colostrum. It helps with bones. It helps with everything. But when I'm trying to really think about my body fighting something, I'm leaning on the other ones, just so everyone knows. Yeah.
Dr. Rahm, thank you for your time. I know you got to go, so
Super.
Sam and I could
Danke.
take this
Danke.
call.
Have a great evening. Thank you, Dylan. I'm
Danke.
trying to close it down, but I'm not great at this, as you know.
Yeah.
Someone else
Let
is
me
going to
take that.
close it. Okay.
Thank you guys. Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.